If you're wondering about the thumbnail, yes, there really was a Corvette sedan, but that's just one of 7 rare Corvettes you might not know about that we'll cover in this video, so let's jump right in. Kicking things off, we've got the 1954 Corvette Corvair. Back in 1953, Chevrolet rolled out the brand new Corvette at the New York Auto Show, and the crowd loved it. The funny thing is, Chevy didn't even plan on making it a production car, but people wanted it, so they built 300 polo white convertibles. They look sharp, but let's be honest, calling those early Corvettes a sports car is a stretch. Under the hood was the Blue Flame inline 6 hooked up to a 2-speed Power Glide automatic. Translation, it had the style, but performance wasn't exactly its strong suit. Fast forward to the 1954 Motorama, and Chevrolet knew it had to bring something fresh to the party. Enter the Corvette Corvair. No, not the rear-engined Corvair from the 60s, but a Corvette prototype with some serious European flair. The most obvious change was a fastback roofline, but it didn't stop there. It had hood ribs and fender vents to help with cooling, and a wraparound windshield that flowed into a roofline ending in a jet-inspired afterburner design. Even the taillights had little fins to keep the aerospace vibe going. From the back, it looked like you might finally get a big trunk, but that was just wishful thinking. The cargo space was tiny, so it felt more like someone slapped a hardtop onto a Corvette than a full redesign. The original show car was ruby red at its first outing, then later painted mint green before General Motors pulled the plug and destroyed it. At the time, Corvette sales weren't strong enough for General Motors to think about expanding the lineup, so the Corvair never had a shot. Coming up next is the 1957 Chevrolet Corvette Supersport. Harley Earl, the man behind the Corvette's design, saw potential in Zora Arkus Dunthoff's dream of turning it into a true performance car. Earl even went as far as buying a Jaguar D-Type that had placed third at Sebring just to make a point. His idea was simple: drop a Chevy engine into it and go racing. Arkus Dunthoff wasn't having that. Instead, he pushed for something more ambitious: build a purpose-built race car from the ground up. That push gave life to Project XP64, better known as the Corvette Supersport. 2 cars came out of the project. One was a finished race car meant for competition and display. The other was a bare-bones prototype nicknamed the Mule. Both were built in record time, just 5 months from drawing board to test track. And these weren't half-baked. Arkus Dunthoff's team created a tubular truss frame that weighed only 180 pounds, wrapped it in a lightweight magnesium body, and went all in on cutting-edge suspension, braking, and aerodynamics. Power came from a 283 cubic inch V8, fitted with experimental aluminum parts to save weight, ramjet fuel injection, and a straight-through exhaust setup. It made more than 300 horsepower and weighed less than a production Corvette's engine. Backing it was a lightweight aluminum 4-speed and a quick-change differential. All told, the Supersport tipped the scales at just 1,850 pounds, nearly 1,000 pounds lighter than a showroom Corvette. For the 1950s, that was insane. The car looked the part too. Low-slung magnesium bodywork, flush latches, a canopy-style windshield, and even a built-in roll bar gave it a futuristic, race-ready presence. About the only nod to its Corvette roots was the grille. Everything else was pure race car. Now, I've already covered the Corvette Supersport in detail in another video, so if you want to see the full story behind this wild project, make sure to check that one out. For now, all you need to know is that this Corvette proved Chevy could build a world-class race car, fast, light, and ahead of its time. By the way, we've launched a new channel with the same vibe, covering classic European and Australian cars. There's already a video on 7 rare Jaguars that never made it to production, and one on Australia's first supercar. The link's in the description and pinned comment, so feel free to check it out and subscribe. Now back to the video. The third car on the list is the 1963 Corvette Rondine. In 1963, Chevrolet wanted to make a big impression with the new C2 Corvette. The split-window Stingray was already turning heads, but they wanted a one-off concept that would really shock the world. Enter the Corvette Rondine, a car that took Corvette DNA and wrapped it in Italian elegance. The project went to Pininfarina, the legendary Italian coach builder behind cars for Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, and Maserati. A young American designer named Tom Jarda, fresh out of the University of Michigan, handled the Rondine. He had just moved to Turin and, despite being early in his career, was already entrusted with designing what would become a show-stopping one-off. His goal was simple: make the car functional and beautiful. The result was so successful that the Rondine earned the nickname the Corvette in an Italian suit. The car kept the long hood, short deck proportions of the C2, but smoothed out the fenders and kept the quad headlights under removable shields. The fastback roof flowed into a rounded rear glass and swallowtail fenders, while the split chrome bumpers reminded everyone it was still very much a Corvette. The interior borrowed from a stock C2, but was wrapped in white leather, with large gauges giving the driver everything needed to feel in control. Under the hood, the Rondine packed a fuel-injected 327 V8, the top-performing engine of the 1963 Corvette, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. It could hit 60 miles per hour in 5.8 seconds, run the quarter mile in 14.5 seconds, and top out at 130 miles per hour. Chevrolet showed the Rondine at the 1963 Paris Motor Show, but it never went into production. It stayed a one-of-one Corvette and later became a centerpiece in the Pininfarina Museum. In 2008, it sold at auction for $1.6 million. Up next, we have the 1963 Corvette Grand Sport. This Corvette was born in secret. Zora Arkus Duntov, Corvette's chief engineer, wanted a car that could take on Europe's best endurance racers, like the Shelby Cobra. Chevrolet planned to build 125 cars, but General Motors executives weren't thrilled about the project. In the end, only 5 were ever made, with rumors of a 6th floating around unconfirmed. Each one survived, making them priceless today. The Grand Sport, also called the Lightweight, cut 1,000 pounds from a standard Stingray. The body was thin fiberglass, the inner structure aluminum instead of steel, and the frame was lighter yet stiffer than a production Corvette. Under the hood sat a 377 cubic inch aluminum V8 with 4 Weber carburetors and a cross-ram intake running at 6,400 RPM, producing around 550 horsepower, far ahead of the Shelby Cobra's 330 to 340 horsepower. Racing history came quickly. Dick Thompson won the first race for the Grand Sport on August 24, 1963, at Watkins Glen. In terms of looks, the Grand Sport set itself apart from the Stingray with deep hood vents, wider wheels, and a more aggressive stance. 2 of the 5 cars didn't even have tops, because who needs one when you're chasing a Cobra down the track? Today, all 5 cars are privately held, each a piece of racing history. One even made a cameo in Fast 5, though that was a kit car, not the real deal, which later sold for around $100,000 at auction. At number 5, we have the 1970 Baldwin Motion Phase 3 GT Corvette. It was a collaboration between Joel Rosen's Motion Performance and Baldwin Chevrolet in Long Island, New York, and only 10 were ever produced. Rosen, famous for his tuning skills, offered the Phase 3 package starting in 1969, complete with a written guarantee that these cars could run the quarter mile in 11 seconds. The 1970 model received 14 motion modifications, including Le Mans-style headlights, a functional hood scoop, reverse side louvers, flared wheel wells, and a fast back rear window. It packed an L71 435 horsepower 427, paired with a Muncie M21 4-speed manual, giving it plenty of firepower for both drag strips and highways. Next up, we have the 1980 Corvette America Sedan. California Custom Coach tried to create the next big thing by taking a C3 Corvette, stretching the wheelbase by 30 inches, adding a pair of rear doors, and calling it a day. The price was $35,000 in 1980, almost as much as a Lamborghini Countach at the time. The idea was simple: let Corvette owners keep the thrill while still fitting the kids in the back seat. A noble cause, if a bit ambitious. Only 6 were actually built, though some sources say 10. Under the hood, it was just a standard 1980 Corvette, a 350 cubic inch small block with 195 horsepower and 285 pound-feet of torque. That gave it a 0 to 60 of 9.1 seconds and a top speed of 101 miles per hour, the slowest Corvette ever. But considering emissions rules at the time had nearly cut engine power in half, it's not too shocking. The Corvette America's looks were divisive, and its high price meant it never stood a chance in the market. General Motors had initially suggested the concept but left production to California Custom Coach in case sales didn't meet expectations. Over 40 preliminary models were planned, but the cost and limited appeal ended the idea. Today, only 2 are known to survive, and their value has bounced wildly at auctions, one selling for over $275,000 at one point. The The final car in our list is one you might recognize, but I know a lot of people don't, and it's wild when you think about it. We're talking about an American car from the 1980s that could hit a top speed higher than a 2005 Bugatti Veyron. Meet the 1988 Corvette Callaway Sledgehammer. Now, today it's easy to slap twin turbos on a Corvette and chase 200+ miles per hour, but back in the late 80s, the most powerful Corvette Chevrolet made barely hit 240 horsepower. Enter Callaway, the speed shop founded in 1978, who decided America's sports car deserved a place in the record books. Callaway's twin-turbo package added 150 horsepower to a 1987 or later C4 Corvette straight from the factory, all under Chevrolet's original new car warranty. The Sledgehammer was an 880 horsepower street-legal beast, claiming the title of fastest Corvette in 1988 and holding it for 11 years. The Sledgehammer has brake ducts built into the body, a roll cage, and a center exit quad exhaust. Inside, the racing harnesses, supercharger gauge, and Callaway badges give a hint of the power under the hood. Lift the hood and you'll find a 5.7-liter small block with Brodix aluminum heads, a Cosworth crankshaft, and forged pistons and rods. Two turbochargers push 22 pounds of boost, producing 880 horsepower at 6,250 RPM and 772 pound-feet of torque at 5,250 RPM. Just to put it in perspective, this car nearly doubled the power of a Lamborghini Countach or Porsche 959 in 1988. Power goes to the rear wheels through a ZF 6-speed manual, and Dimag magnesium wheels with 275/40 Goodyears put all that power to the pavement. The Sledgehammer proved its speed on a 700-mile trip to the 7.5-mile oval at the Transportation Research Center in Ohio, where, on October 26, 1988, it reached a record top speed of 254 miles per hour. The information in this video was gathered from the sources shown on screen. As always, you can find the sources in the Google Doc linked in the description. I recommend checking them out for more details. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe and click on the recommended video that appears on the screen. It's all about 11 rare cars Chrysler built but never released. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.